Today's daily Bible thought is a hopeful one. And I hope it's an encouraging one to you. It really has encouraged me. And it's one of the few times you'll ever catch me, I hope, taking a verse really out of context. So I really implore you, beg you, plead with you, please read the book of Zechariah. You might actually need to read Nehemiah and Haggai also, but at any rate, remember that this little verse talks about little things, and it's referring to so much more. And so it's tucked in to the book of Zechariah, which is all about the rebuilding of Jerusalem and the wall, because the Jews had been taken captive. It's such a long story. It's a lot of the Old Testament. And so at this point in their history, 50,000 had returned. 50,000 captives had returned. Read Nehemiah, learn about them, building the wall with one hand, with a sword in the other. They were working against so much opposition. And then there was so much opposition that they quit. For 16 years, they hadn't touched a stone. And so this book, Zechariah, is a book of hope. And Zechariah 4:10, the first part of that verse says, "Do not despise the day of small beginnings." And you got to get it, guys. This is so important, because after Zechariah preaches to them, after there's this pivot, this change, it only takes them 4 years to finish the wall. Once they realized that even if things started small, if they were doing their part, if they were building, if they were working, if they were faithful, then God would build. Just a few verses before this, he says, "Not by might, not by power, but by my Spirit." And so if you're faced with something big, huge, then remember, a lot of times it starts with small beginnings. And you look at the Red Barn this year, it's starting with small beginnings. We've had, because of COVID, the requirement through the Youth for Christ board was to only have 10 people in the building. So that meant 8 kids and 2 adult staff. For Bible study, the most we've had was, I think, 5 one night. We average 1 or 2. But I got to tell you something. Those Bible studies have been some of the best Bible studies ever. We had someone stay this last Thursday that it meant the world to me that person would stay. So I'm just saying, we can't despise the day of small beginnings, because it's not by our might, it's not by our power, but it's by his Spirit. So if you're in the middle of something and you're thinking it's too big and there's no way you can do it, then start small and trust the God of small beginnings.